everyone, and welcome to another Smart Grid News webinar. I'm your host, Jesse Berst, and today's topic is full circle customer engagement. You can ask just about any expert, and they'll tell you customer engagement is among the top 5 most pressing issues for today's utilities. And here's the challenge. It's so far out of most utilities' comfort zone. It's so far away from their traditional strengths, from the things they've been traditionally asked to do. So that means they've got to get up to speed and get up to speed in a hurry. And fortunately, we've got some help with that today. Now, I'll introduce each of our speakers in more detail when it's their turn to speak. But very quickly, I'm Jesse Berst. I'm your host today. I'm the founder and the chief analyst of SmartGridNews, the Internet's oldest and largest smart grid site. And also with us, Bob Lockhart of Pike Research, which I consider the sector's leading research firm. And also Ogi Kavazovic with Opower. And Opower has worked with 80 utilities on customer engagement projects, so that gives him a great view into what works and what doesn't. We're going to tap into that today. So here's what we're going to cover today. First, a few words about the importance of this topic. And then second, we're going to bring up Bob Lockhart from Pike Research to talk about what the numbers say, what the research is showing about this. And then we're going to bring up Ogi Kavazovic. He's going to talk about this full circle approach. And then finally, he's going to talk about some real-world results, the kind of things and benefits that you can achieve by using this approach. So real quickly, I just want to underline that our world has changed. It's now a multi-channel world. It's not just a newspaper and TV, but it's Facebook and Twitter and YouTube, and we've got to adapt to reaching out to our customers in any and every channel that they prefer. We certainly saw during Irene and again during Sandy that Twitter has turned into a lifeline for utility customers who are saddled with a big outage, and it's just proof of how our world has changed. Our customers have changed as well. The old customers, it was all about keep the lights up and keep the costs down. Now today, that's still an important motivation, but they've added additional things. And it varies by customer segment. So this is why it's so important to segment your customers and find out what additional motivators are. As we learned in Texas, one of the big motivators is choice. So if you've followed what's been happening in the Texas retail competition, consumers are beginning to really want to have their programs tailored just the way they want it. So you can see all these different kind of programs. You can get a 20-year rate guarantee if you'll let them put PV on the roof, or they'll come out and service your air conditioner if you let them cycle during peak times, or there's a special rate for electric vehicle charging, or maybe you want green energy, or maybe you're a college student and you want a prepay program. So choice is very important for many consumers. Others are more motivated by having more control over usage or having more comfort or efficiency, et cetera, et cetera. So you've got to tap into those additional motivations. The competitive landscape has changed as well. We have retail competition that's slowly, gradually enlarging. And we're also seeing third parties trying to come in and disintermediate utilities and become your customer's preferred energy partner. This might be demand response companies, energy efficiency companies, controls companies, home security, cable TV. Many of them want to have some kind of energy management, energy efficiency role with your customers. Also, policy and regulation have changed. The government, and if you've been following the disputes in Illinois, in New York, in Connecticut, in Vermont around Sandy and other storm outages, many even governors and certainly public utility commissions are really revved up about the outage problem and getting it fixed. And many regulators, because many of our utilities had smart grid projects, some of them financed by stimulus funds, those projects had promised returns, and to get those benefits that were promised, in many cases you've got to get your customers to change your behavior. So yet another reason that customer engagement is so vital. So I just would summarize it to say it's just essential for utilities to renew and reinvigorate the customer relationship. We talked about some mandates and some pressures, but there's also a pot of gold at the end of this rainbow, because there's so much more you can do and gain with and from your customers. It's not enough to go after a single point of pain these days to just fix one aspect of your customer engagement. And likewise, it's not enough to just have a loose collection of programs. Think about how many utilities have gathered a collection of energy efficiency programs over the last 20 or 30 years, all of them standing side by side, and that's not going to cut it anymore. So I really urge you to begin with the end in mind, and you'll get some advice from Ogi today on how to do that. And also urge you to think company-wide, because this is not just something that affects one narrow part of the business. It really is almost company-wide. I remember hearing Encore talk about their transition a couple years ago and how they had to not just retrain the customer service reps, but also their linemen and their installation crew, because everybody in the company needed to be talking the same story for it to be effective. And finally, I urge you to take a phased rollout. Start with the end in mind, do the overall planning, and do this in phases where the savings and the learnings from phase one can inform the next phase.